Okay, so we've been looking at the institution of the family, different types of families, and how the family has changed over time. But what about before we actually get to the family? That's right, we're talking about the process of marriage and mating. All right, so in this video and the next, we're briefly going to talk about love, romance, marriage, mating today. When we talk about mates and mating, we're really just talking about who do we get together with and how do we get together with them? How do we choose who we partner with? Who do we choose? And how do we find them? If this leads to marriage, we can look at different types of marriage. In our society, um, it's much more common to see, and frankly legal, to see monogamous marriages, which are marriages between two people who commit to one another. Right? And marriage is a formal commitment of two individuals to share lives, experiences, and the perils thereof. Once a marriage produces children, then it becomes a family of orientation. But also, if it's your family and you produce children, it would be your family of procreation. So briefly, how do we choose who we partner with? In our society, it's much more common for us to practice what we call free choice partnership. That is, the two people involved in the relationship, and it usually is two people, though today there are what we call polyamorous relationships. Poly meaning many, amorous referring to love, so love amongst a number of people. How do these people choose each other? The free choice partnership suggests that it's voluntary. And what's the basis of choosing to try to partner with someone, to mate with them, or just to be with them? Well, as our slide suggests here, today we often base this on the idea of love, that we have some sort of individual connection, compatibility, but also a kind of a passionate, amorous connection. And that should be the basis of a long-term relationship. Some societies, though, really don't think that makes so much sense. I mean, think about it. If you're going to be married to someone for like your whole life, you're going to have to share a bathroom with them, do laundry with them, manage finances. Maybe like a passionate romance really isn't the best basis for making that decision. That's why in many countries around the world, it's still kind of common to practice arranged marriages. And these arranged partnerships typically involve the parent. Today there are actually websites for this sort of thing. And in the arranged partnerships, the parents of both sides of the couple both vet the other person's, or kind of try to gauge the other person's family, and the partner, of course, themselves, and be the judge of how compatible they are. It's not to say these relationships are simply devoid of love. Often love is built out of them. And there is an element of attraction to them, particularly today. And as we see from our chart here on the left, arranged marriages overall are in decline, but there are some places in which it's still more heavily practiced. We might note that this is certainly so in Central African countries, in India, in South Asia. This is still more or less common. What makes these countries different from our own country? Give up? Well, there's a lot of things, frankly. Um, Mostly we might want to think about cultural differences. Many of these countries are dominated by very patriarchal or male-dominated religious views, which tend to see women as more commodities to be traded, though that's a very large generalization. Um, but in these societies, certainly women are seen as something that should be controlled by men. And so arranging partnership and arranging marriages is much more common because men think they should have control over what happens to their daughters. These are also societies in which, though we see this as well in Mormons, and it really depends on the particular culture, in which polygamy is more common. This is when you have a man with multiple wives. This really isn't practiced a lot today, but some subcultures do practice it, and they are typically a bit more male-dominated or patriarchal.